the start, to be involved with bringing it from what was Jaguar to where it is now. Been an absolutely amazing journey.
How important is it for you to have been, you made reference from the very beginning in this, because we know how difficult it is for a small, start-up team, and you're up against a history of all of those great teams up and down the pit lane. Is that any extra emotion right at this moment?
No, I think it's just bringing it from where it was. Being involved, as I say, from a team and really being involved in how it's developed, working with Christian, working with other key people, Peter Prodromou, Rob Marshall, just getting it from a midfield team to a team that's been able to challenge and succeed amazingly at winning the championship.
Well, you just heard from the man, I might add, that has won one more world champions as a designer. He's created these cars at Williams, at McLaren, and now at Red Bull. He's a top man, and he's way ahead in the stakes of being world champions, and certainly in that capacity.
Well, from one magical result, I'm going to just got a man here I wanted to bring into the show, Guy Laliberté, who's the founder of Cirque du Soleil. So you've created some magical, mystical shows over the years. How do you think this World Championship is put on as a show?
Well, I think this season was an amazing, entertaining season. Today there was a little magic too. I think the result caught many people by surprise, but I think he deserved every pleasure and every success of his win of the season. He struggled in the middle of the season, made some mistake and raced back like a champion. So this is how champions are made from.
You've been coming to the paddock for many years. Which one of these characters would you stick in one of your shows?
Well, definitely this guy, Hedy.
What, he'd be the clown?
Oh, and more.
Listen, I object to that, DC. That is an unfair question.
I will hire him anytime.
Don't worry, Guy. I'm coming to your party.
A nose clown on his nose, and we'll have fun together.
Thank you, Guy. Thanks for your time. We're just going to, I think Jake's going to pick up there with Kenny Hankamer.
I am indeed. Kenny, we spoke to you before the race. We might as well speak to you afterwards as well, because there's a lot to celebrate. How are you feeling?
Yeah, unbelievable. I mean, you can't explain it. Fantastic.
Talk us through watching that in your garage as a team.
Tricky. Looking back on it now, it's like completely in another world. And it was very tense, very stressful, you can imagine. But yeah, it worked out well in the end.
And when you think what you've been through this year, the issues with the drivers at times, the issues with the reliability at times, you've won both titles. What does that mean for you? How much of a weight off the shoulders of just one Red Bull employee is it?
Unbelievable. I mean, it's been, a short space of time for us to, help get this team together, and, we've done it. So, fantastic.
But the bad news is the work carries on, so I guess you better get into the garage and help them all clear down.
Stop.
All right, thanks a lot, Kenny.
I think they're testing next week, aren't they? They're doing the tire tests. I mean, people may not think at home that they're off on holiday. They are here slogging, and because next year the work on that car has already started, maybe some months ago, and the final little trick in that parcel is the tires, which they're after going to evaluate very shortly.
That's right, they'll be on Pirellis next year. I hope you appreciate the treat I'm giving you, allowing you to stand next to Jake. Normally you're kept on the outside.
No, if you could supply me with a box, it would be a help.
Well,
about 9 inches high.
Yeah, we'll put you down at Speaker's Corner in London, shall we?
Fantastic. It's just worth making the point, actually, for people at home, that Kenny does go in there and carry on working, and tomorrow morning, Michael Schumacher, Fernando Alonso, Mark Webber, they wake up and say, right, I'll be quicker next year. Adrian Newey goes to a design board and thinks, what's Ross Brawn going to come up with that's going to make his car quicker than mine? There is just no rest in this sport. It carries on as of Monday morning.
Well, indeed, and we were, I was actually in the production office before the event, and we were looking at how many days it is to the next Grand Prix. I don't actually recall as we speak, but I'm hoping, yeah, someone's just said it, Richard, thank you, 119 days to the next Grand Prix. So it's not a lot of time for them to design, build, test, sort out and get to the first race.
And then you've added to that, you've got the commercial aspects, you've got the travel. Think of the people who have to logistically put this together. It's massive. Until you're actually sitting in a factory, I mean, the driver has their responsibilities, but when you're actually running a team, there's a lot more, that everyone has to do to make sure that this goes to everywhere safely, all the documents, all the travel, all of the customs, anything. It's just a huge operation.
Did you realise how tired you were until you stopped doing it?
No, because I was just punch drunk. I think what happens is you start the season in sometimes around February, and because everyone knocks at your door, whether it be drivers or sponsors not getting value for money or not being fairly treated, or one guy leaving and he wants to go into a bigger or a better team, and then the replay. It's never ending. And I had one... good wife, she said to me, no phone calls between 12 at night and 7 in the morning. And once I honoured that, then we were in much better shape, because people ring at the most obscene hours just to make sure that they get their point across. And I think you do have to differentiate the difference between a little bit of social life and a little bit of social life. Where are you guys gone? Afraid of a drop of champagne?
Paul, was that aimed at Eddie, me or DC?
It was aimed at Eddie for sure.
Okay, unfortunately you missed. Look at that. Don't worry though.
You always had anyone who thinks that he just does this, he does this as his main job, but he does look after people like Sheffield United and Middlesbrough and various other things. Paul is one of the top men. He's the doctor here in charge of Red Bull, so well done to them.
He is indeed. Well, as you can probably tell, it's rather wild down here. I think whenever Red Bull were, and if they were going to win the Constructors' Championship, it was always going to happen like this, and now they've added the drivers on top. It is wild. So we'll go to the highlights for today's Grand Prix, then we'll have a walk around, see who we can find, and hoover up all the stories and wrap up the 2010 season.
It's been the longest season, the closest season. We have 4 contenders. Who will be champion today? As we leave the grid in Abu Dhabi, Vettel moves forward. Alonso comes through. Button's got the jump. Alonso down into 4th. Hamilton goes close, but Vettel still leads. Button goes into 3rd. Alonso is 4th, and Webber is 5th behind him. But a crucial move there for Jenson Button already. McLaren's 1 and 2.
Yeah, Button got away extremely well on the inside. And Vettel had to defend hard against another fast-starting McLaren as they're defending like crazy down into the turn 5. And we've got 2 Mercedes side by side, and they make contact. Michael Schumacher round. Will he?
Oh, the big smash there. It's Lewis. He's gone straight into him as well. The safety car has indeed been deployed. What a dramatic start. Away we go. We're racing once more. Was this a little problem for Mark Webber as he went across on the curb, running very close, very, very, very close then to the Armco? It's Webber. He's coming in early. He tried this early in the season, and it worked in Hungary, and he's away, and that was well done. Seemed to be no major problems there.
But the problem he's got is he's going to slot in behind Kubica, Sutil, maybe even Nico Rosberg. They're going to hold up his progress. He's way back, isn't he?
Oh, he's almost got into the wall then, almost into the Armco. A real wobble, surely. He went very, very close, but he's coming into the pits now. That's Ham absolutely pushing to make sure he maximises that in-lap.
I half expected Vettel and Hamilton to be in as well, frankly. I think they'll be in on the next lap, surely. Because if you look at the sector times of all those that have got fresh tyres, they're really fast, particularly in the middle part of the lap. And Webber's absolutely flying till he gets up to the back of Petrov. Heidfeld's pitted as well.
Here comes Alonso out of that pit lane, and there is Mark Webber. Has Alonso got out ahead? It seems he has. And here comes Alonso going through on the inside of Petrov, but he's careful not to do. He's almost going off the track. He has gone off the track. He cannot gain position, though. Petrov's got through, and Alonso there. A little mistake.
Hamilton pits.
So Hamilton the first to blink of those near the front of Vettel and Button.
So he was 1.8 behind. Vettel's going to need a good in-lap and a good pit stop to stay ahead of Lewis Hamilton.
Smoother exit.
Surely Red Bull will now respond to that one. They did the right thing leaving Vettel out because the tyres came back to them, somewhat of a miracle, but they did.
So Vettel comes in.
Button takes the lead of the race.
He just stopped there. Front jack man almost pushed away. That shows the aggression and the tension there that's all built up. A round of applause there from Horner.
Hamilton's coming through the inside of turn 1. And he's still held up. Vettel retains the lead and critically ahead of that Sauber that they were trying to
he
monitor.
Almost kept together there. He's got to watch out though as Kobayashi will try on the inside maybe. He's having a look. Vettel though has kept ahead.
That could have been a world championship making the pit stop. Bit of oversteer through the exits and frustration creeping in from the super calm Spaniard.
Just keep trying, keep trying. We had to try something with the strategy. Just keep going, you'll get your chance.
I'm going to have to pit again. My front left is really bad.
And Lewis, we cannot afford to have another stop unless we have to.
Mark Webber down in 8th, stuck behind Alonso. He started there and he's going to finish there. And how he'd love to finish where this man is heading now. Through these final corners. He won here last year, remember, but that was only good enough to be runner-up in the championship. The order came from Dietrich Mateschitz. It needs to be better this year. We want the championship. Well, they got the constructors in Brazil, and now Sebastian Vettel wins in Abu Dhabi to be drivers' champion for 2010. It's a double for Red Bull.
Oh, thank you, boys. Unbelievable. Thank you, I love you.
Fantastic, just fantastic to hear that again. What an emotional guy. Mark Webber's emotions, how are they?
Mark, I've just been up to see Mark, and I said to him, look, you know, obviously he's a bit on the floor. This championship has been very, you know, he's given it everything. And I said to him, you can be very, very proud of what you've achieved this year. He's been an awesome competitor. He's taken this championship to the last round. Indeed, he could have won it, you know. You know, we've done our best to give him all the support that we can. And he's a big team player, and, you know, he's a large part of this championship success as well. So, you know, let's take nothing away from Mark. He's been an awesome competitor this year.
Have you had any words from your other competition, as Stefano Domenicali or Martin Whitmarsh had a chance to come down and see you?
Not yet. I mean, Fernando came and saw me, and I mean, those guys they've been great competitors this year. It's been done in a sporting manner on the track, and you know, it's been a tremendous year for Formula One to have done it the right way, to have won it on the circuit as well. I'm just delighted with the way that Sebastian drove today. The fact that, you know, we did it without team orders, the fact that we did it at the end of the day, the best guy won, and that's the way it should be.
Christian, a lot of people would like to know, let's just presuppose you had Vettel finishing order of last weekend. Surely now you can tell us that a magnanimous person that we've seen today in world champion-elect Vettel, he would have moved out to let Mark by on the last lap.
I've got no doubt about him. You know, Sebastian is a team player, you know, and there's no way in the world that we'd ever tell him, you must move out of the way. That would have been down to him. I think it was clear in his mind, if he had have been in that position, you know, I got no doubt in my mind that he would have done that to ensure we got the best team result.
David, do you know how it feels to be a runner-up in a World Championship battle? What does Christian need to say to Mark or do with Mark to help him lift himself for next season?
Well, I'm not even going to pretend I ever got this close. I never got to the last race, and it must be really, really, really disappointing. But the fact is, you can only do in competition what you can do, and the moment the checker flag is dropped, I think the one thing that real competitors will have, is the ability to move on. And as we were saying earlier in the show, it's 119 days to the next Grand Prix. So, you know, there's a lot of work, testing, development that needs to go on between now and then. And Mark's a fighter. You know, he's not going to stay down for very long. And in the same way that Jensen was king of the world last year as world champion, he finished 5th in this year's championship. Things change quickly. But for this moment now, it's all about Sebastian Vettel and Red Bull.
Well, congratulations. Ever any concerns about Mark, whether Mark was staying or going?
Not at all. He's a big part of our team. You know, he's a tremendous driver. He'll have another chance next year. He's pushed Sebastian all the way this year. There's been very little to choose between them at times, and it's seesawed in form between the two of them. And, you know, Sebastian has led the championship once this year, which is today, which is the most important time. And you know, he can be very, very proud of what he's achieved this year. It's tremendous, and thanks to you guys as well. Thanks to Eddie for all the grief he's given us. You know,
comes with the greatest of courtesy. Don't worry, we'll continue.
DC's are balancing up, and Papa Smurf here. Papa Smurf is absolutely.
We've already had him on.
Sebastian's dad, so
he's got T-shirts printed already.
We're all very, very proud dad.
Indeed. Well, maybe one other person you should be saying thank you to is Fabrice Rom here from Renault, your engine partner.
Absolutely.
So, actually, Christian, why don't you?
Fabrice, I'd like to thank you on behalf of everybody at Red Bull for giving us a bit of stress at times, but you've done a great job for us this year, and we're very, very proud to have done this together. So thank you on behalf of everybody at Red Bull for what Renault has done, and you're a big part of this championship.
No, thank you very much. The car was fantastic. Thank you.
Any message back to Red Bull, or anything you'd like to say? This is your moment, Fabrice.
This is the moment in England. No, it is an honor for the last 4 years to work with Red Bull, with Adrian, that is making us a very, very quick car. It's incredible to be part of this adventure. We began very, very far, if we remember the first fire up, and now we are at the top of the world. So it's magic. Thank you for that. Thank you. It's a privilege.
And Fabrice, was it always the plan that the two Renaults would hold up the rest of the competition so that Red Bull could go through and do this?
It was a plan that one day they will help us, and they did really, really well. Against a Mercedes engine and a Ferrari engine.
Yeah. I've never been praying so much for a good Renault pit stop, I tell you.
Fabrice, I have to ask you this, looking into the crystal ball, we've all got one way or another into next year. Do you think you're behind Mercedes in the KERS, or you think you're on top of it, or you think you can be better?
We never know, we never know. We know the Mercedes engine is a little bit better than ours. Our KERS is not bad, honestly. So it should be the same hierarchy than this year with the KERS. It won't change anything.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Congratulations. What a lovely team you make, and you'll be a team again next year.
Thank you, and thank you to all the viewers this year, giving us tremendous support. It's been a great year, been great to be part of it, and just unbelievable to come out on top.
Well done, Christian. And we'll see you in 119 days when it all starts
6
again.
weeks.
Yeah.
Sorry, 16 weeks.
Good luck. Have a nice holiday.
Thank you very much.
Okay, nice to see you. Fabrice, congratulations as well. Martin Brundle is around somewhere. He's hot-footed it from the commentary box. Lucky you grabbing yourself a snack. We don't get that luxury. How was it calling that one?
Intriguing, wasn't it?
Oh.
I thought it was going to turn into a bore fest, and then all of a sudden, with the tyres falling apart and not falling apart, and then safety car situation, people making decisions, and it's, in many respects, it just worked out so unbelievably well for Vettel, didn't it? Because I was just talking, the reason I'm late, I'm just talking to the McLaren boys, trying to understand what they were doing with Lewis. They were desperately trying to get Lewis in there and ahead. They thought they could win the race still, and so Lewis may feel that they stopped him a touch too early.
Well, next time you do that, take a camera with you and we'll film it.
Yeah, well, you seem to be busy at the time. But there was so many intriguing stories going on during that race. But Alonso got painted in the corner, didn't he? That he had to cover Webber, by and large, and that just put him... I think the mistake that Ferrari made today is underestimating the competition, like Rosberg, like Petrov. I think they thought they could sail past those guys, and they couldn't when it mattered.
It was fascinating, actually, the way that the midfield were brought into play in this race. And, you know, these are guys who've had a sort of bit part all season, and suddenly they are in the middle of the championship battle. They're deciding the destiny.
But this circuit lends itself to that, because I think Martin is absolutely spot on. You take Korea, you take then the situation in Brazil, and the emergence of, you know, they all thought they were, you know, Jack the lads, and they thought no one else could move into their little piece of territory. But they got that wrong, and I actually have a little question mark. I'd like to talk to the people at Ferrari, because for me, some of the tactics that they made were not at their best.
Well, if we can get hold of anybody from Ferrari, Stefano Domenicali or any of his colleagues, then I'm sure we'll be doing exactly that. We'll hopefully hear from Rob Smedley as well in just a few moments. But let's go back to the start of the Grand Prix and have a look at the start. David, Martin called it at the time. You can call it now.
Well, everyone gets away fairly cleanly. You see Fernando tries to get across and block Jensen, who got an absolute flyer from the inside. Lewis stuck his nose in as we thought he would, but in the end, as we described from the track guide, it's just too open, that first corner. There isn't enough deceleration to allow you to actually carry that momentum down the inside. And from this moment on, Sebastian Vettel was having the view that he absolutely wanted to have at the end of the first lap, which is no one in front, and his mirror's full of...
You can clearly see why.
I mean, this was a huge moment in the race, Eddie.
Well, it wasn't actually Schumacher's fault. He clips, I think it was Rosberg, is that right, Martin? Yeah, but Rosberg and him, and he goes around. He fought it, but he kept his foot in as well. I remember we saw this. He kept his foot in, and the car goes around. We've seen that so many times. The same thing happened to Webber in Korea. It's a mistake.
Bit of breaking news on that. I saw somebody from Mercedes-Benz, and thank you, Karl-Heinz.
If you were watching the forum 12 months ago, I'm sorry to interrupt Fernando Alonso's start. Karl-Heinz, Bernie's friend, decided to congratulate us for the season with a little drink.
Thank you.
Being an ever-professional BBC member of staff, I went nowhere near it, and I'll go nowhere near it again.
Very good. Huh?
One of us.
That's water.
One of us has to keep his head while all those around.
Actually, I have a little. There's a little story to tell you. I'm sorry. It's a joke played for you, Jake. The reality is, we know we talked about comedians here a few seconds ago with Gila Liberté, but he's as big a prankster as anybody, and they are water.
Listen, you know I'm a...
People in BBC, you can rest easy. Jake is not going to be done for drink driving.
Yeah, he's just... I can confirm that. That is definitely water.
Yeah. So Austria, then, you meaning a Red Bull team, have got their second championship, yeah?
Well, it's Austrian mixed with English and a good German.
Yeah, very good German indeed. How many years have you been doing this business now, Karl-Heinz?
The 23rd year.
Looking after Bernie's motorhome, you played backgammon with him, and Maybe, are you the man that really runs Formula 1, do you think?
You must be joking, no? No, not really.
Right, well, we got a show we got to be getting on with. Can you bring us some real stuff back? We don't want any fake stuff.
The new ringmeister. He doesn't allow the alcohol.
Well, as long as we're not paying for it.
As the Germans would say, the English have no sense of humor.
Yeah.
Oh, we
that
do.
works in reverse. Is there any exception for the paddies here? Because they like a drop of juice every now and again.
Okay, come to my motorhome
Don't
afterwards,
worry,
you
we
get
will
some
do
real
it for
stuff.
sure.
Good stuff. We really ought to get on.
Karl-Heinz, thank you very much. A lovely shot of water.
Bye. Yes.
Take care. Bye-bye. And you were a very naughty man for playing that. You knew I wouldn't drink
Mad as
that.
a box of frogs.
Very naughty. Very naughty. Okay, now we were riding on board with Fernando Alonso when we left.
I was going to give you some breaking news.
Yeah, go on.
Talking to some people at Mercedes and one of the stewards of the meeting, they've looked at the content, and apparently Michael spun by himself. He did not get touched at any point by Nico Rosberg. He actually just got on the throttle, I think, a little bit urgently, and basically spun around by himself. But I have to say, for me, when Liuzzi went barreling in there, for me that was more scary than actually Mark Webber flying through the sky in Valencia once he stayed within the confines of the racetrack.
This is the moment again.
Formula One cars are crash tested in every respect, but not in order to run into each other front to nose to nose, basically. I don't know about you, David. I wouldn't want to be in that car.
Well, indeed, and if you recall back to a failed manoeuvre that I had in Alexander Works in Australia a few years ago, that's why we went for these high cockpit sides, to give more lateral protection for the driver. But it was a really scary moment for us all, because at that moment when the smoke's going around the car, you just don't know. And that's always going to be the biggest danger for the driver, is the fact his helmet is exposed.
It's also tribute not just the sporting regulations, but full marks to Liuzzi, because Liuzzi, he couldn't move. He was right there.
Why does he get full marks though?
Because he couldn't avoid it. He was in the middle of a pack and he had to keep his race going. He wasn't sure. He had no idea whether Michael was going to pirouette around the place.
Yeah. What you mean is no blame on Liuzzi?
Well, we're inclined to lash out blame at him from every quarter, and I think in this case he was blameless.
Okay, Eddie, I'm sorry. It's the end of the season. You've got to explain what you mean at least once. It's getting so frustrating, for God's sake. What do you mean? What do you mean? I think I might have upset my buddy here.
Look, you be nice to Eddie. Put your arm around him, because you're a lovely
so
team.
Tough, Antonio, all
We
year.
have.
And because
We
you
have.
were a teammate of his, and he clearly has a different view of his driving with you and you to him. I hear one side, I hear another side. I'm trying not to take sides. We have given him a lot of grief. I don't think this had anything to do with him.
No, absolutely not. No, it wasn't his fault.
No, I wasn't suggesting that. I wasn't suggesting that.
Michael was right in front of him. He couldn't stop. Thankfully, though, he didn't hit Michael, and he spoke to Lee during the race.
It looked pretty scary from where we were standing. What was it like in the seat? What could you see coming towards you with Tonio?
Yeah, well, it was even scary from inside, because obviously me turned around, I'm like a ram for the guys to just drive up on me. But luckily, safety is very high and nothing happened.
And just tell us, was it a tap from your teammate that made you spin?
I was on the outside, obviously, and trying to defend my position, probably being on the dirty line, and just lost the grip and spun it. For a moment, I thought there was some contact involved, but I guess it was my fault.
So Michael confirms that indeed he wasn't hit by Nico. He did spin of his own accord. We're very grateful to see him fine, and of course he'll be back in the car for next year. But let's move on to Ferrari then, and we'll talk about the decisions they made and whether today they effectively threw away the title rather than Red Bull taking the title from them. But first we'll hear from Rob Smedley, who can explain how Ferrari came to the decisions they did.
Well, Rob, you got a point with Felipe. Tell us about the feeling in this team at the moment.
Well, disappointment, obviously. We're hugely disappointed not to have got the World Championship. We come here leading the World Championship with Fernando, and we didn't do the maximum today. But anyway, I mean, proud of it, proud of the guys, proud of everything. We haven't had the best car all year, that's been clear. And we took the fight right till the very last race. So, you've got to be proud of what we've done.
Why couldn't Alonso get past Petrov, do you think?
It's very difficult to overtake. I mean, you saw him at the end, he was driving to the absolute maximum. But if you've got a car in front of you that's 3, 4, 5 kph faster than you on the straight, it's almost impossible. You saw how fast he was in the 5, 6, 7 complex, and he was always on the back of him, but you just can't do it because Petrov was pulling away on the straight, so unfortunate.
Did they have to pit Fernando when they did to cover Webber? I mean, that proved costly, didn't it?
Well, we covered Webber. I mean, we covered Webber, but we also thought that there would be more degradation. And you can only, you know, it's easy with hindsight to look at it and look what we did as a team. Everybody together, you know, because we all make them decisions. It's no one person. So, you know, it's difficult to look at it at the time and say, oh yeah, the soft tyre is going to go and go. And we didn't know that, you know, all weekend. It's been, you know, we've been losing the rear, and all the other teams have been losing the rear. And we expected that, and we expected that we'd get behind and be able to pass people, and that never happened either. So, you know, we had to take a bit of a risk. We did, and it didn't pay off, and that's motor racing.
Okay, well, commiserations. Look forward to seeing you back again with Felipe and Fernando. Let's give it another go next year.
Yeah, definitely.
Great guy, Rob Smedley, who's had in some ways a bit of a difficult year this year. He'll be back stronger in 2011. And it's a fair point that, you know, they said they didn't expect those soft tyres just to go and go and go.
Absolutely. They had to cover off. I think I heard in the programme just before I bolted from the commentary box that they had to cover off Webber. So they needed to finish in the top 4 with Vettel apparently looking very comfortable at the front of the field. So what surprises me, of course they've made a mistake because they haven't won the World Championship. We don't all want to be Monday morning quarterbacks and blame them because they took a decision at the time. What's slightly strange for me is that they pitted Massa, and they should have at least just seen how Massa went for another lap because they pitted Alonso straight away again. Or why didn't they leave Massa out and see if he could interfere with somebody else's race? I don't think they played a smart hand, but you can see the logic behind their decision. It wasn't just a mindless decision to bring him in.
Yeah, I think at the time Mark Webber purpled the first sector, and Eddie's just...
Eddie's seen someone else that he wants to speak to. You carry on, David.
Yes, OK. Well, I think that they reacted to Mark purpling the sector, so they obviously thought, OK, tyres are going off, he's going purple, let's bring him in.
And the reason why Eddie ran away, yes, thanks, was that Helmut Marko was standing nearby. Helmut, who's responsible for Red Bull's young driver programme, heavily involved in the team and the decisions that they make. We've seen you arm in arm, walking up and down with Sebastian all year, giving him words of advice. How good did it feel for you to see him up there as world champion today?
For us, it really didn't matter who would win the championship. I think in the last, or since Korea, Mark was a little bit unlucky, but on the other hand, Sebastian was really dominating this race, and to have an engine failure just 10 laps from the race, and the way he recovered, I think that was really remarkable.
Elmer, thanks for joining us. For me, I want to ask you, because you've seen this boy grow up with you. You know, we saw what happened to McLaren when they had Lewis Hamilton. Here was the product of everything that they've put into, invested in. Does that make it any more special?
Of course, it's special, you know, to have your own team and then to win the championship with the youngest driver, and this driver came out of our Red Bull Junior team. I think that's the optimum you can achieve.
How do you top this?
Sorry?
How are you going to top this? You know, the team winning the constructors, winning the drivers, doing anything the first time is special.
I think going in the next season, making less mistakes and having both titles not in the very last race, or maybe 1 or 2 races from the end.
Mark made the point just a couple of races ago, he didn't feel emotionally supported by the team. Could things have been easier for him this year, do you think? Could the team have helped him more, or did they really help both drivers equally and give everything?
I can't hear these stories anymore. Both drivers got the same treatment. There was how should I say, the way this wing thing was handled in Silverstone wasn't communicated in the right way. But Mark had a chassis which was lighter than the one from Sebastian. And till the very last race, it was up to them from strategy to choose and so on. So that was our politic, and a lot of people were criticizing us that we are not favoring one or the other driver. In the end, if we would have changed the positions in Brazil, I think Vettel wouldn't have been world champion. So we let both have the freedom to race, and I think that's the way Red Bull is acting, and in the end, the sport was the one which was winning.
Helmut, you were a very fast Grand Prix driver. You were really unlucky with this stone coming through your visor, and you were thoroughly disappointed. Does this help make up? I mean, Sebastian Vettel is a product of your young driver system. How important is this day to you?
Okay, I had my accident, but if I would be moaning and suffering all my life just because of accident, after my accident at one stage, that's over. Okay, so I went on the other side, on the management side. I achieved it here, not as a driver, but I don't think it's some sort of a compensation.
Well, Helmut, congratulations and enjoy this. And then we were just saying to Christian, your colleague, 119 days and you start all over again.
Only?
Yeah.
So, okay, only one night and then we start working again.
Probably not even one night, but congratulations, well done. Thank you very much.
I'm sure it will be one night, don't worry, but it'll go on for a bit longer than one.
In some ways, Martin, has Formula One learned a bit of a lesson here from Red Bull, that actually if they had done what some fans don't like and swapped their cars on the track in Brazil, it would have caused issues in this race for them, and actually they've shown you can allow drivers to race to the end of the season, do allow what happens to happen and still take the title.
Well, it was a no-brainer. Of course they weren't going to swap the cars last weekend because mathematically it made no sense. So I don't understand why there would have been any initiative to do that. But rest assured, if it had been Vettel, Webber, Alonso, they would have swapped their cars around today. Of that, there is absolutely no mistake. So I think what impresses me more is they've created a car that was fast enough for them to take 10 pole positions with one driver alone and had a sensational year.
But you can win the Drivers' Championship without needing to mess things around 4 or 5 races from the end of the season. That's been proven.
Well, the reality is that's too simplistic a statement. There are so many decisions that are made all the way through, and you know, I understand completely. You know, Helmut's obviously very proud of Red Bull's achievements. He's proud of, you know, being able to bring Sebastian up through the young driver program. But there's always a lot more that goes on behind the scenes, that are decisions that are made. And best will in the world, there'll always be something. You know, pit stop strategy is always going to be an area where one driver will get an advantage over the other. But anyway, I don't think we should focus too much on the events of Hockenheim anymore. This was a great World Championship and a very deserving young champion we have today.
Absolutely. I think he made the point, and he's, you know, he was apprehensive that we were going to ask that question. You asked it to him, Jake, and he responded very well. In his mind, there's clarity. He does not believe at any stage there was favouritism, irrespective of what other people may say, and he made it very clear there. And I think this team has emerged as probably, this has been one of the most dignified wins because it was seen without the interference of the team. The drivers won it. The best driver usually drives the best car, and the best driver in the best car wins the championship. And that's Vettel, make no mistake. He won it fair and square without anyone's help.
And in the fans' eyes, they'll enjoy that. Right, let's talk about Renault now. We've heard from a Renault engine man who they've had rather a good day, haven't they? They helped Red Bull to take the title, and they were getting up to all kinds of mischief on the track out there today. And it just shows, David, as we take a look at this, how difficult it is to get past cars on the track. And Fernando at the end, Martin pointed out, he almost made a gesture as if to say, you've ruined the championship for me. But you can't blame the guy in front of you for not letting you through.
No, they were on the same lap. You know, I would have an issue if he was a back marker, he was a lap down, and he was getting in the way of the front runners. But he was there legitimately. He came in under the safety car, made the pit stop, and why should he pull out of the way? You know, Fernando clearly gets frustrated being behind him. But any other track, if this was Brazil, for instance, you know, let's play the if game. If this was Brazil, then Fernando probably would have got by him because the circuit creates potential overtaking. This track is so smooth. And so sort of, you know, there's very little risk if you have a little go. You know, you're not going to run into a barrier or a big curb or mud or whatever. So I think that the guy in front can just concentrate on point and squirt, braking very late and making it difficult for you.
When you get to the last race, when you want drivers to overtake, it's a hard place to come to and expect them to do that, isn't it?
Well, they should be able to overtake a hairpin onto a long straight with a big break at the end, but the chicane doesn't help, and I think probably the run into that turn 5 hairpin is with the chicane where Schumi crashed is already making it difficult. It strings the cars out. So, but all they've got to do is look at Hockenheim, where you overtake, and Istanbul. There are certain layouts where we can see Formula One cars overtake, or put Lewis Hamilton or Kobayashi in them. They seem to get them past, don't they, somehow?
Well, the key thing is having a big stop and then immediately having a corner afterwards doesn't work in my mind, because if you go too deep into the turn, then immediately on the switchback, someone's going to pass you again. So if you're going to have a big stop, you need to at least have a hairpin with another long straight.
And never do they ask the drivers what they think.
No. Well, I'm sure Petrov quite enjoyed it, though, because it meant he could keep the world champion, or the man who wanted to be world champion, behind him for the whole race. Let's hear from Vitaly.
Obviously, did you expect to be making such a huge part in this championship race today? You did a great race yourself.
Yeah, we did. All weekend was quite fast. I'm really proud of my team because we did a good job, move step forward. So this weekend we don't have any problems. We try to try to do it good start on the race. I did this, but then I didn't want to crash because two Mercedes was blocked me and then Kobayashi, so it was quite difficult, you know. But then I tried to push, save as much I can my tires, and I think we did this what we was planned.
Obviously, the reaction of Fernando Alonso at the end of the race seems to think that you prevented him from taking another championship. What do you have to say about that?
I came here to fight, and I don't want to let somebody pass, because I want to show you I am Russian, not just for money. I want to show I can fight, and this is it. I hope he will be cooled down. I think it's racing.
Well, Vitaly will hope to be in Formula One again next year. Now, there was a lovely sight on that podium. It was the man who is the new world champion alongside two British drivers who are the two most recent world champions, three all on one podium. And we can now hear from the two guys who haven't picked up the podium and the championship this season, but they've had a great race today. Let's hear from Jensen.
Jensen, a huge day in the World Championship, but what was it like from your seat?
Yeah, I had a good race. I mean, an unusual race in terms of staying out so long on the soft tyre. But I got a good start, and then I decided to look after the tyres for the first sort of 10 laps, and then kicked in, started catching Sebastian and Lewis, and they pitted, and then I was just left on my own for about 30 laps out in front. And basically I was just pushing the car as hard as I could to try and eke the gap out and jump in front of Robert, so I was, in front of Lewis, but that wasn't possible. But yeah, great to be on the podium. Good to be on the podium with Lewis and also the new world champion.
And of course, he is a new world champion, which means you're not anymore. You've had to hand your crown over. How do you feel about that?
It's nice to have been on the podium with him at the last race. I think, losing the number one off your car, it hurts a little bit, but it also makes you very hungry for next season. And while he's partying over the next few days, Lewis and myself will be at the factory making sure our car's quicker next year. And yeah, we'll make it right next season.
A friendly threat, but just sum up this season for us, because it's been such an enormous season for everyone, and you were part of it for so long.
Yeah, it's been a great season for Formula One. You have some fantastic teams in Formula One now at the front fighting it out, and some exceptional drivers, and it's I've really enjoyed this year. There's been lots of ups and downs for everyone. No one's had a perfect season, and that's what's made it really exciting. For me personally, I've had a good year. Sundays for me have been great, but Saturdays is something I have to work on, and I know that, and it's something I've been doing with the team over the last few weeks at the factory. So we'll solve those issues and we'll come back stronger next year.
Well, of course, he didn't get the chance to defend his Formula One world title, but I think it's mission accomplished for Jenson Button this season. The fear from most people was that he'd come into McLaren and be overawed by Lewis Hamilton, but he hasn't done that. Lewis does, of course, finish ahead of him in the Drivers' Championship, and we can now review the season of Lewis Hamilton.
Lewis Hamilton has had a roller coaster season. Sensational speed and commitment has generated 3 victories in Istanbul, Montreal and Spa. His overtaking ability has once again been outstanding, but it hasn't always paid off.
Broken steering arm, Hamilton is out.
Contact in Monza and Singapore derailed his championship charge. He was very frustrated with team pit stop strategy in Australia.
Whose call was it to bring me in? Terrible idea.
His car let him down in Spain with a loose front wheel and at the Hungarian Grand Prix with transmission problems. This practice crash in Suzuka and running wide on a restart in Korea costing him a potential victory sums up a disappointing end to the season. He's now been a championship contender in 3 of his 4 Formula One seasons, but another one gets away from him.
First of all, congratulations for everything this season, but just sum up your emotions today.
I'm happy. I'm relieved. It's over. It's time. We gave it our best shot, especially towards the end, and we ended the season really on quite a high. I think for me and Jenson to both be on the podium. We clinched the Constructors' Championship, second place in the Constructors' Championship. So very, very happy. Of course, would have hoped, would have liked to have had a better year, and would have liked to have had the fastest car throughout the year, but the team have been pushing all year long and they never gave up, so I'm very, very proud of them. I'm looking forward to next year. I'm hoping that our car will be even better and that we can really fight with these guys from the first race onwards.
And today you really did all you can, but Sebastian, again, was just blitzing away at times. Did you think you could catch him?
Well, I was easily matching his pace. Well, not easy, but I was matching his pace at the beginning of the race. And then I think they had some help from Renault holding us up, which it was impossible to get past Kubica. He made it as difficult as it could be. So I guess that's what happens when you have a couple of other step teammates in the field.
You really feel that Robert was sort of playing a part in the championship?
Clearly it did. Well, that doesn't really matter. I mean, just in the race, obviously I wasn't able to get past to able to attack Sebastian. So that's the way motor racing goes. But you know, we will look forward to the next race. Looking forward to the winter and Christmas, and I wish everyone all the best.
I think there's about 15 weeks or something until Bahrain. Does that fill you with dread or excitement? Probably excitement knowing you.
15 weeks, that doesn't sound too far away, so that's a good thing.
Takes a special kind of driver when you tell them that they've got 15 weeks off. Grins as widely as Lewis Hamilton. He cannot wait to get back in that car and this time be the world champion.
Well, you say that, but, you know, this is both physically and mentally very, very demanding. This is sport at the very highest level, and it's not just, it's mind games as well as everything else, and it's the physical nature. Martin keeps talking about 5 times the weight level, the gravity and all of that. You know, these are all things that you need to keep right on top of it. So they will not, I would say maybe they have a couple of weeks off, but they will keep up a fairly good level of fitness all the way through, because their mind is on next year. They're ultimate professionals.
I'm sorry I keep banging on about that, but it's what happens out there. But what surprises me is the Pirelli tyres are in action this week. We say goodbye to and thanks to Bridgestone. After 14 years, they're out of Formula One now. Pirelli come in, GP2 and F1. And the tests start this week. And the 2 McLaren drivers are not taking part in that. And I think I'd want to get a feel for those and get those in my head a little bit. I know they'll evolve and develop significantly.
I said to Jensen, when he said, oh, I'm not doing the tyre test, I said, why is that? He said, too early to gauge much from them.
I think that's what he's been told, but I think he'd be keen to be in the car. Well, I don't know, I would be, David. You wouldn't want to be out of the car.
You tell that to Michael Schumacher. You tell it to Michael Schumacher. Why is he here? Because he needs to know what will be the understeer inducement in the tyres, or how will they work out. I promise you they will want to go mentally in their mind. He will be planning strategies long before Christmas comes.
Yeah, well, I would just add to that my philosophy was always to be in the car at every available moment. 1, because it stops someone else driving your car and having the chance to impress, and 2, it gave you the chance to influence the development of the car in your direction, influence the tyres in your direction. And there's no question if a Lewis Hamilton or a Jenson Button were at the test, the Pirelli engineers are naturally going to listen to them and take note ahead of anyone else who's not yet won a world championship. Even if the feedback from the other drivers is really good, they'll be like, okay, we've got 4 drivers saying, well, that's a bit too much understeer, 2 saying that's a bit too much oversteer. Who are we going to go with? You know, we'll develop the tyres this direction. So, you know, it could well be the first small mistake of 2011 season.
And if you were in charge at McLaren and you hadn't won a Constructors' Championship for 12 years, would you not be saying to your drivers, hold on guys, look, we actually need you here to help us out with where our car goes next with these tyres?
Well, I think you can never lose focus and you can never take your eye off the ball. This, for me, is a very minuscule, but nevertheless, it is taking your eye off the ball. I would want to have the guys I'm paying my major money to in terms of commitment and sponsorship of contracts. You want to hear what you're paying good money. You want to hear the feedback. And if it's, you don't want it from a test driver, because you rightly say, the top engineers at Pirelli will want to listen to the top guy. They won't be attracted. The magnetism towards the junior driver is not going to be there.
The only upside for McLaren is it keeps their junior drivers, Paffett and Oliver Gary Paffett, keeps their necks, keeps their feel and their understanding of when. So when they're doing the simulator work and when they're generally doing the other jobs they do around the team, they're going to keep their development drivers more engaged than the other teams. But I think I'd have one of the main drivers in the car each day.
And David, plenty of, actually for all 3 of you, plenty of young British drivers here this weekend. Dean Stoneman, who we know as the F2 champion, Sam Bird, who was racing in the GP2s, Oliver Jarvis. They're all here and they all want to get into these F1 cars and give it a go. Is there a dearth of decent British talent coming through at the moment, or from some of these guys, do you see a potential star somewhere?
Well, there's always plenty of talent around, but the big difficulty for that talent is getting themselves in the shop front, and that ultimately is getting out in a Formula One car and showing that they can deliver the lap times, deliver them quickly. Yeah. That means being on the pace within 15, 20 laps and delivering them consistently. And no amount of GP2, GP3 and all of these other formulas is going to do that final trick.
Yeah. What is unusual, and this is because we've just had two spate of British world champions in Hamilton and indeed Button. And what has happened, we'll say, in Germany, because Michael Schumacher created this spark, which now we see, what, 5 German drivers in Formula One?
7.
Thanks, Martin. So 7. I mean, that is, you know, a very large proportion, very close to 30% of the entire grid are German. And now that's my belief, when there was no German drivers before Michael Schumacher, or very few, and that's the cause of it. I just don't understand why Hamilton and Button haven't inspired a whole new raft of young drivers coming through.
Well, we'll wait and see. And of course, all the news that you can get from the tests will be on our website and on Twitter and things. And these boys are just discussing how many German drivers there are in Formula One. While they get on with that, let's have a look at how the Constructors' Championship finished in the end. And we can confirm, of course, as you already knew, and as we knew from Brazil, Red Bull with 498 points were the Constructors' Champions. McLaren's aim today was to keep Ferrari behind them. You can see it finished with Ferrari 3rd and Mercedes in 4th place. You can probably hear Martin explaining to Eddie behind me about how many Germans are on the grid. Renault finished 5th, Williams 6th. And look at that, Williams finishing with 69 points, Force India with 68. So at the last race of the year, Williams leap above Force India by just 1 point. Have you guys sorted out what you...
Yeah,
he
confused me. We talked about Glock. I'd forgotten about how it felt. I must have 7. It's remarkable. I mean, there is the recognition. Michael Schumacher can feel very proud, because he put what historically was a nation, the German nation was into sports cars. That was where they felt that they were good at, and they inspired. And they've turned that around into Grand Prix drivers.
OK, well, while you were talking about German drivers, I was talking about the Constructors' Championship. Well done, Williams. 1 point ahead of Force India they finished in the championship. That'll feel sweet for them, won't it?
Phew, they were quite good in the second half of the season. They came on strongly, didn't they? And I sort of lost track of what happened to them today, really, in the excitement of the World Championship. But Rubens was kind of in there somewhere.
Nico qualified badly yesterday. He had a struggle after pole.
But, I mean, that pole position in Brazil last weekend was kind of a bit circumstantial, wasn't it? But generally speaking, Williams, Cosworth. But I still find it slightly odd, to be honest, to be thinking of Williams having a solid season when they just beat Force India, because I'm so used to growing up. I drove for them in the Belgian Grand Prix in '88, and I'm so used to them dominating Grand Prix racing, and you'll remember the same thing. So I don't know how you feel about that, but it's a bittersweet reaction from me for Williams.
What I think on that, you've asked me my opinion. Force India, that is a very costly point, by the way, in case ever people want to have their money calculator. Why? Because I would imagine 7th place is probably about 20-something million, 25 million, something like that, and 6th place, or vice versa. Each of those places are probably, there's a gap of about 3 to 4 to 5 million. That, in terms of the context of your overall spend, it's a fairly substantial part of that budget. And I would just say one thing about maybe Force India, because they probably did come out of the box early. They've fallen away, which is the sad part in a way. But each of those 5 teams in front of them, each of those 5 teams are all ex-world champions. And that's interesting, because... Martin, don't tell me I'm wrong again, please.
No, I'm just listening.
Each of those, each teams have been world champions. So Force India, they shouldn't feel too bad, but they had such a golden opportunity to crunch Williams, and they just didn't do it.
Where's it gone wrong for Force India, do you think, David? Is it a case of Vitantonio Liuzzi really cost them with so many DNFs and not picking up points?
Well, at the risk of upsetting Eddie, I don't want to say anything about Tony, who actually, contrary to what you might think, is a friend of mine, and we spent a lot of good times together when we were teammates at Red Bull Racing. But they clearly haven't developed the car as well as others around them. You know, they had a very strong end to last season. If anyone remembers Giancarlo Fisichella sticking it on pole in Spa. I think that Adrian Sutil has been a lot stronger this season, less mistakes, putting Korea to one side as we lose Eddie. And he's bringing in
And no, this is quite an important moment, Eddie. Yes. Explain why.
Well, I'll tell you why. The people at Bridgestone, to my knowledge, have been simply outstanding to our sport. They have done every single thing right, not just with the tyres. This man is involved and totally responsible for the technology, whether it's the compound, whether it's the construction. It's all of the needs of the teams in terms of suspension, safety, and every other aspect. But on top of that, commercially, they are just gorgeous people. Hammy, we have loved what you've done. It is a sad day, and I say that for everybody here. Is that fair, guys?
Yeah,
they have
absolutely.
been a remarkable company, great friends of Formula One. You will be sorely and sadly missed.
What's the future from here? What will the...
For future, at least I would like to keep our technology, which based on the Formula One, because it is very valuable. So then we would like to keep those technology to apply to.
We just told him that.
We're just telling him.
He is a man. There's another one you want to thank you.
Listen, are you trying to take my job? Can you leave this to us boys here?
Have we spoken to Christian in this programme?
Right, sorry. Hammy, apologies. These people, they just don't know their place. Please continue.
Yeah. Anyway, so we made a good technology with Formula One, cooperating with many teams, not even. So,
yes.
yeah, no. First stage, so David Coulthard helped us so much, and also Eddie Jordan helped us so much. So then we made so many good technology for our company. So I would like that valuable technology to keep. This is my future job.
Thank you very much, Hammy.
You're still involved in MotoGP, I think, yeah?
Yes, that's right.
Have you got any tyres for my BMW bike?
Okay.
Okay, that's a deal.
We know the size.
No, it's okay. Well done, anyway. It's been a pleasure working with you guys.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Hamishima.
Okay, and now next year we, as quickly as that, move on to Pirelli. That's the way that Formula One works, and this man Martin Whitmarsh will be hoping that the Pirelli tyres suit his car well. But just to mention there for Hamashima-san, Bridgestone have been great for Formula One, worked very hard to give you the right tyres at the right time.
No, they've been great through this period of monopoly. I've worked with Hamashima for many years, a great guy, passionate guy, and they've done a great job. Pirelli, I'm sure, will make it quite exciting for us. Traditionally, I was around when they were in once before, and I know Martin certainly was. At that point, they did some great qualifying tyres and some interesting race tyres, so we'll see what happens.
How are you feeling after today? You finished 2 drivers on the podium, you had a strong race throughout, and you took second in the Constructors, but no driver's title. Did you ever really think that could happen?
Yeah, of course. Of course you do. You think it can happen. You've got to push for that. But we knew it was a long shot, and but we had to give it our best. And I think we had a quick car here. I think both of the drivers did a great job. When you think where Jensen was on Friday, he qualified well, he raced very well, and Lewis did a great job. We had to do something. We weren't about to overtake on this circuit. We had to try something. We tried it. We were no really worse off. A little bit unlucky there, but I don't regret that. And I think overall it was probably not the greatest race, but there's a lot of tension for a lot of people, and mistakes can be made in that situation. I think our guys didn't make that.
It must have been really frustrating for you, because you needed another 2 or 3 seconds, didn't you, from somewhere to win that race, and that would have changed the face of the championship and given the title to your old man. Alonso.
Had we won the race today, we wouldn't have won the championship, in fact. So I think we aimed to win the race. We had a quick race
other
car,
people's championships,
and we wanted to win a race anyway, and that would have been a great way to end the season. But overall, I don't think we can see too disappointed. Again, I think Red Bull's had a quick car all year. Sebastian's certainly done a great job of closing the season off, and it's a great world champion. We're going to have 5 world champions next year in the sort of season we're going to have.
Okay, Martin, thank you very much, and we'll see you in 16 weeks for the next one.
Hello, Martin. Thank you.
Okay, and the reason why we have to wrap that up and move through here is because Sebastian Vettel is on his way, and if you pressed red to join us for the F1 Forum quite a long time ago, thank you very much and well done for staying with us, and we're going to make our way through here. Who wants to go first? Go on, Eddie.
I'll tell you what, shall I
Go on,
age before beauty, Ed.
Jake, I wanted to ask Martin what pact had he made with Christian before, because we saw them talking on the grid as clear as daylight. They must have had some little collusion going on, that they would try to help each other as they went along. Martin, would you agree with that?
I can't hear a word you're saying, Eddie, but I'll agree anyway, because I'm sure you're right.
Anyway.
Well, this is where the party is going on. To our left here, we've got Christian Horner, Dietrich Mateschitz, and Adrian Newey there having a bit of a hug and a handshake, having photographs taken. And these are the rooms that, for most of the Grand Prix weekend, are so sterile. You're not allowed in here. You're certainly not allowed to bring any dirt in here if you can help it. And then suddenly, Eddie, it turns into an almighty party.
Well, there's probably no better team in the whole paddock to have a party than a Red Bull party. I mean, they're party animals, they like the extravagant. But what is absolutely so magic about this is they do know how to be very serious, and they're able to one team that's able to mix the blend, fun and seriousness.
Indeed, sorry, I zoned out there for a moment because I was looking to see. So you're trying to get sight of Sebastian. He must be coming here. The guys have not had the chance yet, can you believe, to actually celebrate with the new world champion.
Well, David, you know these guys. You work with most of them, Rocky and the like. Do you want to go and have a chat with them while we wait for Seb?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, why don't I actually bring in the world champions engineers, Rocky, Tim. So I'll just bring these two gentlemen into the shot, and I'm going to have to shout in their ear. So Rocky, Tim, these are the race engineer and the data engineer on Sebastian's car. Right, give us a quick soundbite on your emotions, and can you shout it down the microphone, please?
I have no idea what you just said. It must have been something about being happy and stuff like that. Dumbstruck, really, because the odds were so against us. I had no idea we could do it. I think the man himself's just arrived.
He has indeed.
Okay.
Sebastian is in the garage.
In there with the driver.
You can see plenty of cameras and plenty of people keen to chat to him. And Martin, these are the moments that make a driver's career. This is such a special, Martin, such a special moment for Sebastian, this.
Unbelievable, isn't it? He's 23 years old, 23 years, 4 months and 11 days, the youngest ever Formula One world champion. He's there with his boss, Tizi Mateschitz, who very rarely ever, I've never seen him on TV apart when Eddie caught him earlier on. This is an amazing, they haven't got the biggest budget in Formula One by a long way, but they've got the fastest car. That's thanks in a large part to Adrian Newey, but also, as I think I said last weekend, this is just the iceberg of the team. The few that come to the race, you know, there are hundreds of people back in Milton Keynes who have also made this moment very special. I want a quick thought for Mark Webber. He's not around. I haven't seen him around. I think that's probably the best decision on his part, but he's played his part in Red Bull's success as well.
I think he'll turn up, Martin. I think Mark Webber is one of the all-time great guys. He's Australian, which obviously helps, and he just has, he absolutely gets it, doesn't he?